Hello, we appreciate you taking the time to learn more about our PDFDocArk management system. In a minute we'll go through some of the different systems and how they integrate directly with our WinTax module and some of the entity programs that we have. But to start, we'll go over just a brief overview of how the application works and especially how it's different from our existing PDFDocArk management system. To give a quick overview, our PDFDocArk is an application designed to log, scan, access, and append to PDF or portable document format files. Clients' entire tax returns and supporting documents can be stored and retrieved from your personal computer. Tax returns can be retrieved, viewed, printed, emailed, and copied to diskette or CDs. This enables you to keep your client's return information on your PC electronically instead of space-consuming paper file cabinets. The program will allow an unlimited number of documents to be stored to an unlimited number of categories at a client-level basis. Those documents can then be found easily by finding the client's first name, last name, using the Social Security number, or if this is coming from an entity program like a corporate program, the entity full name or EIN. We'll show you a little bit more about how the main menu works and how to find those documents and how they're retrieved a little bit further in the program. Primarily, the system is set up to directly interface with Taxware Systems WinTax and entity programs such as the S-Corp program or the 1040 program. As a tax return clients are added, the client information will automatically be loaded with information available in WinTax or the entity program to the TWPDFDocArk program. The program automatically creates tax year categories when interfacing with the tax programs. If you want to look at the chart here, this is a big difference between our previous version of our DocArk program to the current version. In the previous DocArk program, each document had its own record associated with that client. Now we take everything at the client level and break it out per the category. For a tax return, this would usually be a tax year, and then an unlimited number of documents can be attached to that category. So the way this works, and on the other menu, as you can see, everything started at the client level, and that client is created and based on either the client's Social Security number or the client, if it's an entity, their employment identification number, employer identification number, or EIN. So one client will be created and then a multiple number of categories, and those categories can be tax year, or if there's no tax year associated with them, you may want to start a miscellaneous type category. That definitely comes into play when you start working with estates and trusts. And then those categories would then flow through to the tax return, your electronic signature documents, your W-2s, 1099s, and other supporting documents that you might have. The program stores all the documents into a local database, which makes backup of your documents really easy, but in addition to that, it doesn't replace any of your existing PDF documents or other documents. It makes a copy of them and brings them into a folder tree. So if you were to use Windows Explorer, and it's our recommendation that you get familiar with that for backing up purposes, it will make a folder, in this case called Berry Purple. It'll make a subfolder inside of Berry Purple called 2009, and then store all of the PDF documents, Excel documents, or whatever else you have attached to that category in that subfolder tree. You can back up using our backup feature, and this will quickly back up the main database file, which is what the program actually uses, but we actually recommend that you back up not only the main database file regularly, but all of the subfolders inside of the TWPDFDocArk program path, which will not only back up the main database file, but it will also back up all of your subfolder trees, category trees in documents. And again, we recommend that you back up frequently and often, working out whichever protocols suit your office the best. Okay, let's get into how the program actually works. The new DocArk program is very easy to set up. there are basically two different scenarios. The first is using the tax program integration, and the second is a standalone program or non-tax program integration use. I'm going to start by showing the standalone or non-tax integration use, just so you can visualize how a client, category, and document is actually assigned to those different categories, and see how that all flows and works. Because on the WinTax side, after we configure things, it's going to do a lot of this automatically, and it's going to be a little bit more difficult to visualize how that works. So to start, let's go ahead and create a new client. And here you'll see basically the basic information for that client. Most of the items here are optional. For an individual, the name needs to be filled in so that this client can easily be found when you're using the search engines, and then of course the taxpayer's SSN if you're planning on integrating this client with a tax return later on. Okay, so let's go ahead and enter a test name here. Last name. And spouse's information is kind of nice to have with the basic information for your records and in various reports, but it's really not needed for any of the search engines, so we'll go ahead and skip that for now. 9. And as you could see, as soon as I entered in the first name, it auto-filled the entity name, so an individual can use that search engine as well. If this were an entity or a corporate return, you would skip the taxpayer first name and last name and just enter the entity name and of course the employer identification number. The rest of these fields are for reports and your reference. The email address, when you email a return using the DocArk program, which is really handy to have, if you fill in an email address either here or in the WinTax program, which will carry to here, it'll auto-populate those the two email address for you. So you need to enter the full email address, whatever that might be. And then the next thing when we're creating a client, and again this is done for you automatically with WinTax integration or Corp, is what type of entity this is. Back on the main menu we'll show you that you can filter your clients based on the entity type. I'll just kick that drop down so you can see what it looks like, but we're going to go ahead and leave that as WinTax individual tax. And then if there are any notes that you wanted to make particular to this client, you can enter those there. The view email client log, we recommend when you're emailing tax returns to your clients that you blind carbon copy yourself so you have a real receipt of that file going out to your clients in your main email engine. But a successfully sent return will show up in the client log. I haven't sent any for this client, but it'll show you the subject, the date, the name of the file attachment, what the actual PDF was called, and the date sent. So you do have a record of that directly here associated with the client, and that is not year specific or category specific. It'll just keep track of the emails that were sent for that client. I think that's all you need to know in the main client information, so we'll go back to the main menu here. Okay, now that I've finished creating that client, he shows up in my client grid, and of course it's filtered on those filters as we discussed in the client basic information off of WinTax individual tax. So he's here, and the next thing we need to do is create a category for that client. So we're going to go ahead and double click this client, and it'll bring up our category menu. Again, if you're interfacing these with a tax system, these will usually be by tax year. So we're going to go ahead and create a category, and we're going to call it 2009. Usually you wouldn't enter notes, but if you want to enter notes for your categories, you can enter those. And then when we're finished, we'll simply say close. If we had more categories or prior year categories such as tax year 2008, 2007, or miscellaneous, those would show up here for this client. Once we're finished creating a category, the next thing we're going to do is actually go into the document main menu. We don't have any documents associated with this category yet, so we're going to go ahead and add a document. And this menu will come up, and it looks very similar to the previous version of our DocArk system with some subtle differences. First of all, you don't have all the multiple paths that you had to enter. It's a lot easier to use. The title and descriptions, they're great to fill out, and they show up in the previous category grid. But if you forget to fill those in, the program will automatically load the document or the file name into the title field for you. You can, of course, edit that later by double-clicking. We'll spend more time on this menu when we actually bring a tax return over from the tax system. But for now, I'll just put in this title. I'm going to go ahead and leave my description blank. The program will keep track of the original file name and original file path. So if you rename it, don't worry about that. It'll keep track of where it originally was, and again, it pulls everything from the local database. If you're planning on scanning documents, the program will support most Twain or Waya compatible scanners. It's always a good idea to do a quick test and make sure that you've got the latest driver. The program actually uses those drivers, so that aspect of it will be different from my computer to your computer, because the program will use your Twain driver or Waya driver in their software to actually scan documents. The rest of these options are the same as they were in the previous version. If I want to add pages, which is handy if you want to merge or append pages to an archived return, you can simply select Add Pages. It'll bring up the Scan menu. You'll scan those pages, and it will add it to the existing PDF document. Now, to add pages, it does have to be a PDF document, not an Excel document or Word document, because it will use your scanner in order to merge those pages in. The other option is the Find option, which will simply bring up a browser and allow you to go out and browse and find an existing PDF document or Word document or whatever file it may be. The application of that is if a client sends you supporting documents via email or any other method, you can go out, browse for those, bring those documents in by double-clicking, and it will attach that file to your category tree per that client for easy retrieval later. The program defaults to PDF to look for PDF files, but you can change that to be a picture file or all files if it were a Word doc or an Excel document. And then to actually assign a PDF document, you just double click that, it'll bring that file in, and again, had I left this blank, it would have filled in the actual file in the title and description. If I were scanning, it would bring the scanned pages into the thumbnail view here, so you can quickly see how many pages have been scanned. If you're using a multi-page scanner, most of that's handled automatically for multi-pages. If you're using a flatbed scanner, in configuration, just like in the old one, you can tell the program to prompt you for another page, and it'll sit and prompt you for pages until you say you're finished with that. Again, we'll get into more of a real situation when we bring archived returns over from the WinTax program into the PDFDocArk program. Once those are brought in, you can open the document. There are two options in configuration. You can tell it to use either your installed default PDF program. If it's a PDF file, if it's a Word doc, it'll skip that portion and attempt to use either Microsoft Word or Microsoft Excel or whatever the file extension may be. Or you can tell it to use our embedded PDF viewer, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later after we bring in an actual document from the WinTax program. You can, of course, email the document. The email program will encrypt your files if you tell it to encrypt the files in the configuration section, either using the taxpayer's last 4 digits of the SSN or a supplied password that you will key in the configuration section. Now that we've finished that, we can see that our document has been assigned to this category, and we'll just go ahead and back out of there. This is our main category view. It's saying that we have one document in our little category notes, and then we're back here, and as you can see, now that we've added a category and we have a file for that category, the tree gets expanded automatically. As we switch to different clients, you'll see that tree grow as needed. These are 2 test returns for electronic filing. We can either access that document by doing just how we created it, by double-clicking through and going to the applicable document, and slide that over a little bit, and we can open that and use the various functionality of the programs. The full size is kind of nice, the auto fit's nice, the multi-page is kind of nice. The viewer has some advantages in that it's a little bit faster than like Adobe Acrobat, but you don't have the functionality of being able to save and add text and those kinds of things. So it's a nice quick viewer. It fires off very quickly, prints very quickly, but if you need more flexibility, you can go ahead and use any of the other PDF viewers like Adobe Acrobat. We'll go ahead and shut that down. Now that's kind of the long way to open a document. When you come to a client from WinTax, it'll automatically bring you into that client and into that category for you to select a document. The other option is just to simply find the client. So let's search by test here, and you'll see the black arrow kind of going to that client, and once that client's selected, over here we see our document tree. We can just double click directly on the document and it'll take us directly to the document menu, which can then be opened or emailed or whatever you need to do with it. I wanted to show you one last thing before we go into the WinTax integration, and that's the configuration. The nice thing about the new program is there's very limited setup that has to take place. The old system, you had to set up the various paths between the programs and the data to where the PDF files are being stored. The new system, everything integrates from either the WinTax or the corporate program down to this level. So there's not a whole bunch of configuration that needs to be done, but I did want to point out a couple items in the configuration menu. First, I was talking about this a little bit as far as the default viewer. If you want to use Adobe Acrobat or whatever you've loaded as your default viewer for the PDF files, you can make that selection. I'm going to go ahead and leave that off. Also, we talked about the multi-page scanning. If you don't have a multi-page or auto-feed scanner, you have a flat scanner, you may want to select this so the program will prompt you for additional pages as needed. The default from email address, this is probably going to be your email address, and this will auto-populate when you email a document to one of your clients, and this is just the from email address. The Taxware client ID, like our other programs, for auto updates you need to enter a valid client ID so it can validate you as a current client. The rest of these are your email configuration items, and I'm not going to talk about those a whole bunch. We'll point out that in the help file there's a section about how to locate your email settings, your SMTP settings, through the various systems like Outlook or Mozilla Thunderbird, and it'll walk you through how to locate your specific SMTP settings. But these need to be set up, and these are your SMTP settings, meaning that they're going to go through your email server. They're not necessarily going through our email server. So you'll need to set those up, and again we'll refer you to the help section on how to locate that information in your specific browser. Now if you're only using web-based email, you may not have an SMTP server readily available. We'd recommend that you contact your ISP, your internet service provider, and see if they have SMTP information that they can give you to run the email off of their server. And that's about it. Oh, the last thing is the password protection that I was talking about earlier. You can make this designation for when you email your clients to automatically use the last 4 digits of the client's Social Security number. This makes it so that when they receive the email, they obviously should know their last 4 digits of their Social Security number. When they go to open that email, it will ask them for the password, and of course the password is just the last 4 digits of their SSN. The other option is for you to put in kind of a global password that you can let your clients know about. Our recommendation is that you use the last 4 digits so it's unique. It's not exactly a strong authentication, but they are password protected, and it's a good method to keep those unique. With that, I think we'll close that down, and now we're going to close this down and show you how to set up the integration on the WinTax side. Up to this point, we've showed you how to configure and add clients and documents and categories manually directly in the DocArk program, but all of the tax programs are designed to integrate directly with the TWPDFDocArk program through the PDF document archive functionality of each one of those programs. And that's really what the program's designed to do, is quickly and easily get the information from the various tax programs and log those into the DocArk program so that they can be tracked easily. There's limited configuration. The DocArk program path is the one item in configuration that each of the tax program needs to have set in order for them to use the automatic integration. After this is set, when you archive any of the return information, the program will automatically add that PDF file to the program. The one item of configuration that we need to set is just in defaults and settings. It's option 27, the TWPDF archive program path, and so we'll make that selection. If you've installed the program to our default location, which is this, it's just TWPDFDocArk. If you've installed it to a unique location, you'll need to use the browse features to go ahead and browse to where you installed the program and set that path appropriately. But for now, I'm just going to leave that to the default. And with that set, we're ready to actively work with our clients and their PDF files and other documents. With the program path set, I'm just going to recall one of our test returns, and we'll use a unique one that wasn't already in the DocArk program, so we'll use John Jackson, and we'll assume that this return is finished and we're ready to add that as a PDF file. So we'll select the archive return to PDF file, and it will go through and create that, and let's see, yes, and then it'll ask if you want to add it to the DocArk program. Say yes, and that's it. It automatically adds that client. It created all that client information that was available in WinTax, added the category 2009 because we're in the 2009 program, and it added the document 09 Jackson PDF to the program. Now if we wanted to go look at that, we can open that, and again, when you open the program from the tax programs, it will automatically skip the client and category and bring you into that particular document. Now if I had wages or any supporting documents, I could add those documents and scan those in, or go out and find those. Or if I just wanted to view it, I can open that document directly, drag that over, and you'll see that the tax return information is in there and ready to be viewed, printed, reviewed prior to emailing that information to your client. We'll close that down, and we're back at our main DocArk menu, and we can see that John Jackson has been added. All of his information has been added and carried from the WinTax program, and that we have one document in the 2009 category. Wanted to show you the additional accessibility options in WinTax to open the DocArk program from WinTax to that client that we added last year. This was already added, but in addition to that, off the e-file menu, when you create a PDF for your signature documents, it'll also prompt you if you want to add those to the DocArk program. Also, back in the forms and schedules, for forms and schedules and line input, this same functionality is here as there was with the prior version, but it will take you directly to that client for you to select the documents. And we added in the W2 input the additional button to access your DocArk program so that you could quickly scan W2 documents, 1099s, and other supporting documents. So we'll go ahead and select that, and again it'll bring you directly up to that client category, and now we're ready to scan W2 documents. But for now I'm going to close that down. We've already added our document that we're working with there, and then we'll show you some of the reports and other options directly in the DocArk program. Now that we have a client imported from the WinTax system, I wanted to show you just a few of the other options and things that you can do with the program. First is your client grid. Also, I won't do it just because it'll get outside our video view, but you can maximize any of the windows in DocArk to fill the full screen to make this grid a little bit bigger. Also, you can click on the top buttons and it will sort your grid based on those selections. So if I wanted to reorganize the whole grid by taxpayer last name, I can click that and it'll resort it. Same with your SSNs or EINs or any other available fields that you would like, a client ID from the tax systems, all of those apply. The other things to show you quickly, just emailing. If I want to go directly to that document, I don't have my SMTP information filled out for this test scenario, but if I wanted to email a document, we'll see as soon as I click that it'll automatically attach the document to the email. The email too, if I had that information on the WinTax, it would have automatically populated that, and it takes you directly to the subject. It won't automatically populate the subject, so you would type in a subject, whatever that might be. Your email from, if you've set that up in your configuration, would auto-populate. And again, we recommend that you carbon copy yourself, probably a blind carbon copy, so that you have a receipt of the file going out in your actual email box. So you'd put in your information there. We can see that our document is already ready to go, and then it's a simple matter of typing in, your message. I attached your tax return or whatever that message might be. You can change your message body font if you choose to, but that's purely optional. And then when you're finished with that, you simply click send, and when you're clicking send, it will encrypt that email if you've chosen to encrypt that in the configuration based on those choices, either the taxpayer's last 4 digits of the SSN or the password that you've typed in. If you haven't entered either of those, it will send the tax return completely unencrypted, meaning that it won't ask the taxpayer or whoever the recipient is for the password. So obviously we recommend that encryption be used, especially with sensitive information like a tax return would definitely have. But for now we're going to go ahead and cancel that. The other things I'd like to show are probably the reports. All of these reports are client listing type reports. Can be utilized however you see. They are pretty fast. They don't completely show up in my video viewer. They can be exported or created as PDF files. They can also be HTML or whatever they might be. So just be aware that those reports are in there and they're available. I kind of like the client listing with all the detailed information. It gives a little bit more information about the client level, the categories, and then the documents that are associated with that. It's probably a better example. Client category by tax year, whatever it might be, and then the documents that are stored with that. I think that's about it that I wanted to show you as far as the reports and the emailing. The last things that I wanted to touch on are the batch export, the backup feature, and then some of the various support tools and update tools. First is the batch export. Batch export will export all the documents for the selected client to a folder or path of your choosing. Prior to clicking this option, make sure that the client that you want to batch export is selected in the selection grid, either by using the search options or just single click so that it's highlighted, the black arrow is selected for that. The application of that is that if a client wanted all of the documents or tax return information, the whole information set that you had for that client, this would be a quick and easy way to get all the information. Like this client has 3 PDF files. I could have some Word document files. It's a quick, easy way to batch export all of this data, years, categories, everything into one location that can then be burned to a CD or a DVD or emailed or however you want to get that information to your end client. That's what the batch export's for. The backup feature, we highly recommend that you back up frequently. Although there's triple redundancy to the original document, we again recommend that this be done regularly. This backup feature will back up the main database file, and it'll do it based on the system data of your program. So if you select that, we'll run through all the documents and back that up into a separate database file based on the computer system date. The actual database file name will be the same, and it'll allow you to store wherever you want that to go. For now, I'm just going to leave it into the program path, and it will go through, and then it will store that file based on the system date. So for example, here's the main database file, and it was done June 2nd of 2010. So it's easy using Windows Explorer to see which of your backup files was the latest that you were working with. Now, in addition to that, again, we recommend that you use Windows Explorer and grab the entire folder tree from the program path out, so that it will automatically grab not only the main database file, but it will also grab all the subfolder trees, so that you have one more layer of backup available to it, and then put that. Our recommendation is to burn it on a CD or something that can be pulled off of your hard drive in the event that you have a lightning strike or a power surge or just a hard drive failure in general. And the last thing we wanted to cover is the various support options. The check for updates work similarly to our other Taxware update programs. Make sure in the configuration that you have your Taxware client ID, so that when you actually make that selection, it can validate you as a current client. The Taxware website will fire off our website. The help is the same help as if I had clicked the button here. And the last thing is convert prior version. I don't have, in this test scenario, I don't have the prior version loaded, but the only thing that it needs to know is where the program path is of the previous version of the DocArk system. If you loaded it to the defaults, this would be like C:\TWPDFDocArch. So you'd use the browser, go out and find that, and once you do, it will bring all of, I don't have that. Once you do, it'll populate this grid with all of your prior clients with those links. The convert button will become active, and then you just simply click the convert button, a status bar would display, and it'll bring those PDF documents over from the prior version into the new version. Now it doesn't affect that data. It's completely non-destructive. It's still available in the prior version. It doesn't move or delete any of your prior version's PDF documents. It's completely non-destructive. It's just if you want to have the prior version's PDF files in one centralized location, it's just a means to get all of those clients in here. It will do a client and category test, so it's not going to duplicate prior version or prior years. It will simply make one entry per client based on the SSN, and then add the various years documents to your client grid and to the categories years. So if you had prior 2007 or 2008, it would make one client and then make a 2007 and a 2008 category and put the document into the database. I think that's what I wanted to cover in the new PDFDocArk, and showing you some of its functionality and how it can help streamline your office and how it can help you become a bit more paperless. How to set up some of the configuration options. We'd refer you to our help file. It will go into more detail, especially on how to set up your SMTP email server options, and talks a little bit about networking and the limitations dealing with networking. We thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and let us know if there's anything else we can help you with, and how we can help improve your paperless options. Thank you.